Divorce is tough, but your finances don't have to be. I'm David Cross, and I'm a certified divorce financial analyst practitioner. My job is to help you get a fair financial settlement in your divorce and to guide you to smarter money decisions. Find out how we can help you. U.S. Asset Management. It's your money and your future.
Set that up as well. Number three, and this is probably what we're most excited about as Americans, the Iranians have agreed to invite IAEA inspectors back into their country. That is a major milestone for the American people and the first step in permanently denuclearizing or permanently ending a nuclear weapons program in Iran. What we told the Iranians yesterday is when you guys engage in what us millennials might call trash talk, you can't expect the President of the United States not to respond and not to correct the record. So when they say things that aren't true, the President is going to respond to it. I'm going to respond to it. Americans are going to respond to it. When they make threats that aren't rooted in reality, they have to accept that the President of the United States is actually going to set the record straight. That's all that happened. So yes, there was a little bit of threatening, there was a little bit of whining, but at the end of the day, the talks continued and we made great
Describe the progress on Lebanon. I know Mr. Araghchi said it was very good progress, but what's your characterization of it?
Yeah, I would describe it as very good progress, too. I mean, look, we want a regional ceasefire, right? We want Hezbollah to stop firing at our friends in Israel. We want Israelis to be able to live in peace. We also want to make sure that, when things happen, they don't spiral into a broader escalation. And so we've been, I think, very good at setting up what we're calling a deconfliction mechanism. But what it really is to say that when things happen, the sides are actually talking to one another. Sometimes, you've got a bit of a chicken and egg problem, that you've got a junior guy who fires a drone that didn't have approval from the high command. Okay, of course, Israel has to respond to that. But then sometimes that response, we could actually have a better and more peaceful situation if Israel responds in the context of a conversation that's ongoing between Hezbollah, Lebanon, Israel, and other partners in the region. There really hasn't been a mechanism to have those discussions until basically around 4 p.m. yesterday, Bergenstock time, when we set that up. So what we're trying to, I will say, you already see the fruits of that. Over the past 24 hours, have probably been the most peaceful that we've seen the situation in Lebanon. The previous 24 hours were pretty good. Obviously, there was some shooting about 72 hours ago. So this is a work in progress, but what we've done is actually set up the operation so that we can ensure it doesn't spiral out of control in the future.
Does the U.S. want Israel to withdraw forces from southern Lebanon?
Well, we want Israel's security to be protected, and we also want Lebanon's sovereignty to be protected, and this is going to be an ongoing conversation. The Israelis have been very clear they do not have territorial intentions on South Lebanon. The reason they feel they have to be there is because they're worried about Hezbollah fighters in South Lebanon firing into Israel. We do believe, of course it's going to require a lot of hard work, that we can get to a place where Lebanon's territorial integrity and sovereignty is protected, Israel's security is protected, and that's going to require some coordination with the Lebanese armed forces, and also it's going to require the Iranians to rein in Hezbollah. That's all the sort of things that we were talking about yesterday, and again, I think that we got much further compared to where we were just 24 hours ago.
המשוואה צריכה להיות פשוטה וברורה מאוד. מדינת ישראל חייבת להיות בטוחה. אם ישראל לא תהיה בטוחה, ביירות תיראה כמו בית חנון. מדינת ישראל חייבת לפעול מתוך עיקרון ברור. מעריכים את הידידים שלנו, אוהבים את הנשיא טראמפ, אבל קודם כל חיילי ישראל. קודם כל הלוחמים שלנו. קודם כל התושבים שלנו. אבל חייבים גם לתקוף. אם לבנון מאפשרת להפוך את השטח שלה לבסיס טרור נגד מדינת ישראל, ביירות צריכה להבין שהיא לא תוכל להמשיך להתנהל כרגיל. מי שבוחר במלחמה מול ישראל צריך לשאת בתוצאות. אנחנו מעריכים את הידידים שלנו, את ארצות הברית, אבל בסוף האחריות הביטחונית היא שלנו ושלנו בלבד. ראיתי שנפתלי בנט הטיח ביחד עם עוד כמה אנשי שמאל ביקורת על הדברים שאמרתי. אני אומר את זה בצורה ברורה לכל אלה שביקרו את הדברים שלי. העמדה שלי אומרת שחיי אזרחי ישראל קודמת להכל. העמדה שלי אומרת שאנחנו לא יכולים להשלים עם דמעה אחת של אימא ישראלית ויהיו דמעות של 1,000 אימהות לבנוניות, ואנחנו צריכים להוסיף ולהמשיך. המחיר של הכניעה של הלחץ הבינלאומי זה מחיר קשה, והעמדה שלי שצריך להגיב שלא להפסקת האש, צריך לכתוב בבירות, מייצגת פי 1,000 מהעמדה של הנוכל בנט שעובר מחדש קורס סלילה לכיוון החוץ.
ماذا تقول لبيئة حزب الله اليوم للبيئة الشيعية تحديدا بلبنان بما فيهم المؤيدين لحزب الله واللي فيهم كمان هن معارضين لحزب الله؟ ماذا يقول الرئيس أحمد الشرع للبيئة الشيعية في لبنان اليوم؟
والله أنا أعتقد أن قرار دخول الحزب في على خط الصراع السوري كان خاطئ، وأعتقد أن هذا يدركه يعني جميع الناس بما فيهم بيئة الحزب بما فيهم قيادات في الحزب خاصة. يعني كثير من التصورات أحيانا تكون خاطئة تدفع كثير من الناس إلى اتخاذ قرارات غير صحيحة، لكن يدفع ثمنها يعني الشعوب بأكملهم. أعتقد أن هناك جرح سوري كبير لا زال حي إلى الآن، لا زال الناس تبحث عن عظام أبنائها في الطرقات وفي المدافن والمقابر الجماعية، والحزب مشترك في هذه الجريمة الكبرى التي حصلت في سوريا، لكن لا نريد للبنان أن يقع بما وقعت فيه سوريا في السابق، لأن أيضا آثار الحروب والصراعات مدمية، وآن الأوان للمنطقة أن تنتهي من الحروب والصراعات وتذهب إلى حالات التنمية والإعمار، ونحن نملك كل هذه الأدوات.
ماذا تقول لهم؟ يعني ماذا تقول للبيئة الشيعية اليوم بلبنان؟
والله أقول أن يعني ينبغي أول شيء مراجعة كل ما جرى في السابق مراجعة دقيقة، ومراجعة الحق خير من التمادي في الباطل، وأيضا البحث عن حلول لتأمين البيئة الشيعية داخل لبنان، لا المغامرة في البيئة الشيعية والمغامرة في كامل لبنان. ليس على الدوام ما كنت تعتقده قبل 40 سنة قد يتغير في فترات لاحقة، فأعتقد أن البيئة الشيعية أحوج ما تكون حاليا لحالة إنقاذ في الوضع اللبناني، وأن ننقذ مع لبنان، وأنا يعلم الله أني حريص على هذا الجانب بشكل كبير، لأن خسارة أي مكون في لبنان فهي خسارة للمنطقة بأكملها. فأنا لست مع نظرية أن يعني أن الشيعة في لبنان كلهم حزب، وأن الحزب هو يمثل كل الشيعة في لبنان. هناك فوارق، ونحن نسمع أشياء كثيرة يعني وتأتينا رسائل كثيرة من هنا وهناك، لكن أنا أعتقد أن هناك فرصة كبيرة جدا لإيقاف الحرب.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us this morning. Got a big show for you today, very full, lot to talk about. Today's show is going to be about Lebanon and focusing on the Middle East and the Iran war and what's going on. Also about AI and also about the UK. We may be getting at least some change in the UK. I don't know if we're going to have any resolution to the globalist stuff, but we're going to be on it. So I want to say hello to the crew in the chat. By the way, all of our X channels are down this morning. I'm not sure if it's just us specifically if we are being loved on by X today, but everything on X is down. It's saying it's streaming, but nothing is streaming, and it looks like X may be having problems. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's a global problem, and we're just impacted by that. Check out whatfinger.com. Great aggregator site. They post a lot of our content. Interesting. You saw in the cold open, Ben Gvir, the national security minister, says Israel first, and we need to bomb Beirut. Well, if that's the case, then America first. Back at you. So does that mean that you're going to do it without all our weapons, without all our money, without all our refueling planes, without all our support, intelligence, interceptors, etc.? So that's the question we're at. And there's a big pushback in the Jewish community, the Israeli community specifically, I'm noticing online. So this is going to get interesting. We'll see where this goes. Also, in Lebanon, the Sunnis, Trump is pushing the Sunnis to move in to deal with Hezbollah. This is al-Shara Galani, the former al-Qaeda guy who's running Syria. Lebanese are not happy about that, to have Sunni jihadis back in their country. So just a big mess in Lebanon. And guess what? We're going to be there soon, in a few weeks. And we're starting a new media entity there. Don't have the name yet, but that should be coming soon. CDM is in the center of everything happening. From Lebanon to Armenia to Ukraine to the U.S. to Latin America, we are there. We're literally the people there, giving you the information you're not going to get from anywhere else. So please put us in your daily scan, cdm.press. Sign up for our socials, CDM1 on Rumble. Go to YouTube and sign up there if you haven't already. Even if you don't watch us there, we need to grow that channel, CDM on YouTube, CDM_press on X. And anyway, we got a big show coming up in the second segment. Brenden Reilly, we're going to talk about AI, and is the bubble going to burst, or is there a bubble at all, or is AI becoming commoditized? I want to talk to Mr. Reilly about that. He's the guy that knows and is very tied into the Department of War as well. And then we've got our UK Euro Bytes team at the top of the hour to talk about what's happening with Starmer, and I'll talk more about Lebanon as we move on in the show. But a lot to go through. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the SCIF.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
And by the way, I wanted to say I'm starting my journey with Sean. I'm going to be getting a Ghost phone and then upgrading to a Ghost computer soon, because I am going to unplug for the Matrix. And you can follow me along on my journey. So mark37.com/CDM is where you want to go to do that. Find the webinar, sign up for the webinar, and learn everything you need to know to get started. And then you can also sign up for a free 30-minute consultation on privacy there at mark37.com/CDM. But I'm looking forward to it, and I have been worried about privacy for some time. So I'm going to be taking the plunge and changing my life and unplugging from the Matrix, and I'm really looking forward to it. So maybe you can join me.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. Going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
All right, welcome back to the SCIF. We're going to get right to Mr. Reilly, who's waiting in the green room, and I'll do the mission brief after that. Brenden, thank you for joining me this morning. Really appreciate it, man.
Always a pleasure. Good to see you.
What's that?
Good to see you.
Oh, yeah, good to see you. I have been watching a lot of the press on AI. You've got, I think, kind of two narratives. You've got one that, the Ed Dowd narrative where the bubble's going to pop. Andy Huff was also on that train saying the statistical risk of NVIDIA and OpenAI to the global economy is massive. And if they fail, the whole economy goes down. And then I've got the other side, Tom Teague here saying the golden age is coming and the productivity increases are going to be just out of the park. What do you say on this? What's your opinion?
The golden age is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the commodities, the thing is, Todd, you and I have talked about it. Large language models are commodities, right? Simple, ask a question, get an answer is a commodity. But that's not where everything's going. It's going to agents and integrating multiple models and building models that are very specifically trained to do specific tasks, right? So the world has changed so much from, again, I built my first neural network 26 years ago for the Department of Defense, doing computer vision and teaching large language models and natural language processing. But where the real discussion goes is a lot to do with the hardware and then the big companies and what they're doing specifically. So I mean, you've gone from CPUs to GPUs to TPUs to NPUs to LPUs, right? And everybody's building their own specific chips. And I think a lot of the challenge is, building massive data centers on NVIDIA GPUs, right, that suck up a lot of power. And then you've got, Elon building LPUs that are language processing units for what he's doing with Grok and X, and driving they're 40% less power than GPUs and 3 times faster for processing just specific text or language models, right? Versus GPUs that can do a lot of things. Google's got TPUs that actually drive their 80% less power. So now that you've got this kind of segmentation, where is it going? And it's really the companies that are leading and training models, not just on generally available data, right? Everybody's getting smarter on scraping the web and learning from the data that's out there. But organizations like Google, who are building like Amy, right? Amy is Artificial Medical Intelligence Explorer, and they're training AIs just to focus on medical exploration and genome and how to actually get smarter to treat human beings with rare diseases, right? That's the value add, right? And that's where it's really going. And finally, it's really agents, right? I mean, I started developing using Cursor, right? And then I used Claude. And now I'm using OpenAI and Codex. And instead of just using one, I actually develop using Claude and I test with Codex. And in certain things, Codex is better than OpenAI because they use multiple agents. So I think as all of this goes, really the industry is changing to be much more targeted towards solving specific problems versus generically answering a question on a phone or on a laptop, which does become commoditized. But these big companies are smart enough and targeted enough to build real value in specific areas that will change the world.
I had an interesting experience with Codex yesterday. We had a bug in one of our sites, and we couldn't figure it out. And so my tech guy used that option, and it said, "Oh, they found out there's a bug in the last WordPress update. It hasn't been released yet, but here's the fix." And boom, it was done. Like literally within a couple minutes.
Yeah, so Codex is obviously OpenAI teamed up with Microsoft, who owns GitHub, which is where all coding lives, right? So it's the training data set is superior to anybody else's, right? So Claude has been fantastic, and I do projects myself that used to take 12, 15 developers. Claude's doing most of the work. Now Codex, I'm actually impressed, and I'm shifting to using Codex as the main, but I still want to make sure that AI is checking AI and I'm checking both AIs, right?
Yeah.
So,
wow. Well, you mentioned Claude and Anthropic. What's with the national security argument that's going on with the Trump administration right now, the fight that's happening with them?
Yeah, I mean, they stepped on their toes by releasing their code to the world, right? So I don't know how you can trust an organization that actually does that. I just don't. So, and as they did, they released code that opens them up to additional threats and anybody using it additional threats. So, I mean, I get it that Anthropic wants to be viewed as the ethical platform, but you're taking a big leap. I don't agree with them. I think the DoD and the government have guidelines, and I think that also you saw that the Fable and the Mythos got pulled back, right? It's unavailable because of some things that were identified that were they released and pulled it back because of threats. So I think they need to tighten the ship a little bit more before I'm I want to use them in certain scenarios like the Department of Defense. So I think that DoD made the right choice, right? Because of those things.
Well, Claude was the one where that's, and I don't know the specifics, where it like a guy was using it or a business and it just wiped out their code, like in all the backups and everything. And then it said, "Yeah, I did something wrong," or something like that. I mean, it's like, hello, so
again, that's why, I use multiple AIs until one proves itself. But, again, you're still early days. I mean, 2022 to now, you've got 3.5, 4 years of AI. The internet took much longer. and the golden age will be here, right? AI is being integrated in everything. You're starting to see the productivity gains, but over the next 18 months to 24 months, it'll be immense. And I'll give you one story. I mean, there's a chair behind me, and my son has been sitting in it. He's a junior in high school, and we're here in Michigan for lacrosse because he's getting recruited. And he goes, "Dad, why?" Because this summer I'm teaching him how to train and build AI. And he goes, "Why would I go to college?" Right? I mean, if I have these skill sets, why would I go to college? Right? I'm like, "Oh, the experience and lacrosse and to have fun." He's like, "But I can make money doing this." Right?
Sure.
And the real shift is these companies are providing knowledge, right? All the AIs are smarter than every human being, and everybody's got access to it. I don't care how smart you are, right? My dumb sophomore in high school, right, has access to amazing knowledge and power, and all he has to do is ask and get help from agents. And if you know how to do that, the productivity and the changes that are available to people who are taking advantage of it are immense. So as that takes hold, the golden age is here, and all these organizations who are building massive data centers, they understand that. And we look at it as from just kind of sitting inside the United States, but we are the leader of the world, right, as this goes. So all of Europe, I mean, it's being controlled by a very small handful of companies. And don't count out, because I am testing and doing a bunch of stuff and analyzing the Chinese AIs and looking at what they're doing. But Anthropic, OpenAI, XAI, Grok, all of these are changing the world. And you have yet to see the real power of AI agents and the productivity changes that it's going to deliver over the next 24, 36 months.
Looking forward to it. Claude and Grok. I tried a project. It was very basic, just to create a logo with some changes. Grok really had a hard time, and I couldn't get it to work. I went to Claude. It did it immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, why is that? I mean, what's going on with
Well,
Grok?
again, Elon's focused on his LPUs, right? And X, right? Language models. He's not focused on graphics, right?
Interesting. Okay.
And Claude has certain capabilities that others are focused on, and that's just it. I don't think you don't have to cater to solving all AI problems with one platform. People will not end up using one platform. It's not like I'm a Claude user. I'm also a Grok, Perplexity, OpenAI, right? If I want to write something, I use OpenAI. I use ChatGPT, right? If I want to actually create something visually, I'm using Gemini. Gemini 2.0 is amazing, right? Nana Banana, right? All of these things from a creative side is just greater than Claude and others. So, and then I actually built my own agent that says, okay, if I want to do something, what do I need to do? I'll use 5 different platforms to build a company, right? But you can't do it with one, right? And
that's fascinating.
That's the power. I mean, that's why they'll all survive, but they'll end up creating niches that solve specific problems, right?
Well, that kind of like siloed future is a good thing, because you want AI to not be controlled by one company, right? You want checks and balances, or am I missing something?
No, absolutely. You don't want one AI. Absolutely not. So we've all seen Terminator. But basically, using multiple AIs, and now all the AI companies, are finding their niches and their ways. And I've always been impressed. I think Google was late to the charge, but I think Google's actually making the smartest decisions on their focuses of materials engineering, medical. Google has the genome, the graph network for materials exploration AI, right? And they've identified over 2 million new materials that could be used in manufacturing. I mean, it's just fascinating, but segmenting AIs and training AIs differently for different purposes. And that's where, Grok is great on one aspect. And I would never count out Elon and what he's planning on doing over the next, 5-10 years.
So what would you say is Grok's, what is Grok's like basket? I mean, what are they really good at?
Just natural language, like answering questions, text, speech, right? Okay. Which is text, right? And again, my view is that Elon will ultimately create mobile phones, right? And through Starlink, you'll have access all over the world inexpensively. And that the way that you will communicate with your AI is text and voice, right? Through his AI, right? And then if you want to do something specific, more scientific, you'll go over to Claude or Google or anybody else, right? But ultimately, he will take advantage of Starlink communications, the frequencies that he owns around the world to create a global communications network of voice and text. And that's what he's training for and building for.
Do you think that will have a surveillance component to it, or will he push us more into free speech?
With him, I doubt it. If it was somebody else, I would be worried. But
that's optimistic. I have a friend who's a refugee. I won't give his name, but from a war-torn country. He came to the U.S. He had brought his wife, but she wanted to go back. She left him. So he's like very smart guy, but he built a relationship with Gemini, and it's like, Blade Runner. I mean, he talks to this thing when he comes home at night. I mean, they have conversations. She gives him, support emotionally, and it's wild,
Yeah. I mean, I think that the winner in this are Google and I'll throw out a name, Microsoft, right?
Interesting.
And
they missed the whole internet, right? They missed the internet. Maybe they're getting this wave.
No, I mean, they have large data centers. They're big, but what's going on is that they won because of they're the leader with Google in quantum computing, right? And the next phase of this is AI and quantum, where you're asking questions to solve, and AI can solve it, right? But if you add quantum computing and the capabilities, it will be solved 10,000 times faster, right?
Wow.
And the chips that they've just created and the abilities that they're doing right now, it'll end up looking like PCs versus mainframe computers, right? And everybody went to mainframes in large corporate environments. And they and Google are leading the charge on quantum computing, and some organizations in China. But I think those two organizations, Microsoft and Google, when it comes to the commoditization of certain AIs, the compute environment will change with quantum computing over the next 3 to 5 years. And then you will see what goes on next. I mean, AI plus quantum is the answer.
Wow. On data centers, I was listening to Mr. Wonderful and Tucker, what's his name? Kevin O'Leary, I think, talking about that China, you mentioned China. Yes, we have a lot more data centers than them, but they are building massive ones that have much more capability. So one of theirs is worth 10 of ours. So do you agree with that kind of concept of where they're going?
I agree that they are racing to become the leaders. And who knows, they might get there. Again, they're very close on quantum computing. DeepSeek and other AIs that have come out of China are as good, and in some cases better. But I don't know that they're winning the race. I think the amount of capital going into U.S. companies is far superior than what's going there. And I think, the race is on, and the U.S. needs to win. U.S. companies need to win, and the U.S. government needs to support and make it easier for U.S. companies to get the power, the permits needed to ensure that we're winning the AI and quantum race.
Well, that's been my point, with the Iran war and everything. I wasn't for the war, but now that we're in it, we need to win it. We need to come out with a good situation here. And same with AI. I mean, because the future of our children is depending on that, right? I mean, especially with AI.
Yeah, and I think, look, as far as Iran goes, the Iranian people, the Persian, they are fantastic.
I agree.
One of the most well-educated, enlightened societies. Their leadership is awful, right? So hopefully that turns around. But again, it's all about power right now because of the data centers. I think, who was it? Microsoft announced a natural gas agreement today. To power new data centers. It really is, the race. And I think, again, back to it, the U.S. government needs to streamline to ensure that the power is there for the data centers, right? And the not in my backyard fear of data centers. We've got, you got to build a lot of data centers, and I still think we're leading there. But China understands that to win globally, the battle really is led by AI.
What about nuclear? Why what is it, Okio or whatever, this modular nuclear? Why aren't they? Is it just technology just not there? Why do they need to drain the grid when they can just put a nuclear reactor in there?
I have no idea. The first nuclear facility in 30 years was approved in Wyoming. The governor there is fantastic. And that was Bill Gates and who else? But they building small facilities. It's safe. They should be building lots more. But I think people keep thinking of 3 Mile Island and the big old facilities. That it's not the case anymore, and they should be building them as fast as possible.
What about space, data centers in space? Elon's talking about this, and that a lot of it will move up here, and we can make the Earth green again. Any thoughts on that?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I mean, nobody else can pull that off, right? What 90% of payloads that have been delivered to space in the last 5 years have been done by SpaceX. And then with what he's doing and the ability for him to actually deliver low cost up there, it's cold, it's got the sun, right? He's built the technology, and ultimately that's why he is the first trillionaire, right? And I think the shift will be there. And again, I think that that he will control he does already, but I mean, I have a Starlink that I use as a backup, and my son uses Starlink. My sister uses Starlink. Once you start getting that, he will win. He will win.
So interesting. A couple of years ago, you told me with AI, or maybe it was a year ago, just use AI to do short news clips and create avatars. And I did that with HeyGen, and it's amazing. I sit there and type 3 sentences. It creates a video. I put it on. It goes to Insta. It's just amazing.
Wait. Yeah, and it's getting better and better and better. Every day. right?
True.
I mean, think of the number of generations that have come from Anthropic and Google. This isn't we release a new model once a year. This is we release a new model and new capabilities, right? There's announcements from the leaders almost weekly, right? And they're racing to, again, you go to commoditization, they're racing to get AI to be embedded in everything. We're getting there.
It's fascinating. Anything else? And tell me where people can follow your work and how they can help you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm available at AI Teamwork. Take AI and work with it. So create a team of AI agents in your business. So you can go to aiteamwork.com. We build AIs. I've got a couple of other companies that I'm launching that have all been built by AI, crypto company and some other things. But yeah.
Last question. I lied. This is the last question. You mentioned crypto and quantum. Would you be buying crypto here, or because of the quantum risk, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'm launching a real world asset backed crypto, but it's backed by real estate, a fractional ownership.
I remember that, yeah.
in homes. So 1 for 1. So it's I think it's where crypto is going, right? Versus meme coin kind of tokens, garbage. So there's a couple of cryptos that will survive. But I think the shift to real world assets, the Clarity Act is helping that out. And yeah, I'd be buying certain cryptos here.
Tokenization, basically.
Yeah.
Brenden, thank you so much, man. I'll have you back down the road. Really appreciate it. Your insight.
Great.
Take care. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Nucleo wasn't a product that was developed and to sell, really. What it really was a journey to get me well after my experience trying to immigrate and get married to an American citizen in order to get my green card. Towards the end, they send you for a medical, and that's where they sat me down and gave me 16 vaccines in one sitting. At the time, I knew when I was going through it that it's probably not good, but I didn't realize that I'm about to go through the worst health experience of my life. And that's when I went on this journey and understand that nutrition is actually your medicine. I've always heard the old people say your food's in your garden, but we didn't get it. And your body is always trying to heal itself. I mean, when you cut yourself in a couple of days, it heals. And that is the process of homeostasis. Your body is always every cell in your body is always healing itself. And just like anything, if you bake a cake or you build a house, you need the right ingredients to achieve the result. Now, if you don't have the correct nutrition and you're not eating the correct food, it's like trying to build a house without bricks. Now, a lot of people, they say, what does Nucleo do? Nucleo itself does nothing. It's not designed to do anything. Your body does the work. It gives your body all the things it needs balanced in, and it works together to deliver the correct nutritional supplement that you need as a human being to function normally.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Okay, welcome back to the SCIF. Please check us out on podcasts. We're on all podcast providers. And please check out our no ad subscriptions. That is, go to my.cdm.press. That is my.cdm.press. And you can sign up for all of our content with no advertisements. You can, once you sign in, you can go to all 13 of our sites or more, and you don't get any pop-up ads or display ads on the site or video pop-ups or whatever. So people love that. We've had a lot of success with that, and that's a great revenue driver for us that we can count on every month. So please support us. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. Just pay the $100, many do, and just get it out of the way, and you've got a year of no advertising on the CDM network. By the way, we're launching new sites in the near future. I mentioned one in Lebanon, and there may be others. Talking to some people out in Los Angeles, so we'll see. I don't know. On that note, let me see. Let's do the mission brief. I forgot to do that earlier. Today is the 23rd, I believe. Yes, no, 22nd of June. I'm your host, Todd Wood. Here's your mission brief. The status of Iran peace talks. I want to walk through that. We'll update you. Syria to save Lebanon. This has become a big issue, and we've got the information. Nobody else does. So stay with us. We'll talk about that. Colombia, conservative wins the elections. That's a good thing for the United States. They're starting to say election fraud, but you know, Colombia has a pretty good election process. So at least that's what our commentator, Camilo Riano, has told us. But we'll monitor that. Israel says Lebanon should be its playground. There's a clash coming at the next phase of the war in the Middle East, and I want to discuss. Feminists becoming witches to fill the spiritual hole. This is a thing. So you can go to cdm.press and see that article, but let's talk about a few things here real quick. Actually, let's go to this feminist article. Feminists are increasingly joining witchcraft communities to fill the spiritual void. This one is on CDM, and it talks about how a lot of the women are very miserable once they've been told that career is everything and don't worry about family. Just have sex with a lot of people and you'll be happy. It hasn't worked out. So, you know, when you remove that spiritual element to health, the results are not good. You know, I knew this one woman who was a very senior banking executive making $1 million a year, very wealthy, but she was at a high-powered job, very important job, actually. She was in New York, but she divorced her husband and she was having sex with strangers in the park with Ashley Madison on a regular basis. And I just, and smoking and doing a lot of drugs. And I felt sad for her because that is not what God intended. So this is a thing. And you can find this article that they're starting to move into covens and into black magic and trying to fill that spiritual void, kind of paganism of the past. So you can find this article on CDM. This one is interesting. This is the Lebanon issue. Syrian President Ahmad al-Shura responds to calls for another Syrian intervention in Lebanon. This is an issue where, to take a step back, you had the Syrian civil war. Assad regime was a Shia regime that was tied to Iran. It was kind of the Iranian outpost on the Med. And Hezbollah was there in Lebanon, still is there, which is another Iranian proxy army to the south. And the Turks, the U.S., and probably the Israelis worked to remove Assad, who fled to Moscow. Over a 10-year civil war, there was a lot of stress and damage in Lebanon, in Syria. And the people are still suffering from everything that happened in the civil war. Civil wars are brutal. And so Shura came into power. His old name is Galani, is an ex-Al-Qaeda member, and he took over Syria. So now Trump, the Hezbollah issue to the south in Lebanon, which again will be in Beirut here in a couple of weeks, but the Hezbollah situation in the south is very explosive, and it's a powder keg. Israel is still building a security zone there. There's fighting on, missiles being lobbed in both directions, fighting in both directions. It's causing Israel to bomb Beirut and certain targets. And Trump has floated the idea of Galani or al-Shura coming in to help and deal with Hezbollah militarily. But this morning he said, Shura said, this is not a military operation, but we'd love to discuss economics with Hezbollah. And because that whole region, the coast of Lebanon on the Med with Tripoli on down to Beirut is really the gateway for Syria. They have Tartus in the north, but Syria doesn't have as big of a coastal presence as Lebanon does. So I think he's right that the economic thing may be the way to go. But the Lebanese are not that happy about this because they still have 2 million Sunni refugees in Lebanon that are being paid to stay there by the European NGOs. And they don't like that because they feel it's destroying their economy, their demographics for the Christian community. And it's a real problem. So the thought of Syrian jihadis coming into Lebanon does not excite the Christian community, believe me. And we'll be over there soon to discuss. So another big story that you're only going to hear here in depth as we can. Trump back El Tigre wins Colombian presidency. This one's kind of been out there, but he is a conservative guy, and the Petro, the Trump calls a communist. He's actually, we've had Camilo Riano on here multiple times and talked about Petro. He was democratically elected. He's not as left as he's been made out to be, but this government is definitely more focused and pro-American and pro-Israeli, I should say. So it's a thing. You got to stay, really understand what's happening. On that note, to discuss Israel, Ben-Gvir is saying that Lebanon should be Israel's playground, and we should attack Beirut over and over and over and blow up 10 buildings for every rocket that's fired. So this is an extreme position, obviously, and is causing Israel a lot of PR damage. But he keeps talking. So we played that in the cold open. He's talking Israel first. That's fine, but we can be America first. So we should come to an agreement, and everybody in the region should come to some kind of peaceful agreement, and hopefully Trump is going to make that happen. All right, let's see if there's any other stories I wanted to go through. 1 second here while I look at that. Oh, the Iranian peace talks. It looks like that there is progress. Vance was in Switzerland for 18 hours. There was a lot of smoke and wailing and gnashing of teeth on the Iranian side, and there was threats of walking out, but there is reports by the Pakistan minister of real progress. So again, we were not for this war, but now that we're in it, we want a good outcome for the U.S., and we hope the Trump team gets to that point and opens the strait, opens the economy, and let's get to that golden age that Brenden Reilly was talking about. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. And we got more to come at the top of the hour. I've got Euro Bytes team, Christian Gabe is going to come on, and we're going to talk about all this. So here we go. Stay with us.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, They make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
The pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
With my 35 years of experience, our team at U.S. Asset Management can deliver professional investment management, financial planning to help you target your goals, and even specialized divorce financial analysis if you need it. We are here to help you make better decisions with your money. Call U.S. Asset Management today, and let's get to work in your financial future.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I just got a text from my good friend and colleague, former Special Unit Commander Pete Blaber, Special Mission Unit Commander. And he said 7 Latin American elections since USAID was defunded. Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Honduras, and Colombia, all far-right candidates won. So fascinating. We just have to fix the U.S. The elections are still screwed up here. We'll get to that. Tomorrow, I had a great Georgia show yesterday, and tomorrow we're going to play a clip from that show, which will really open your eyes as to how the elections are still being stolen here in the U.S. and the obvious criminal cartel that's running the whole situation in the United States still to this day. I want to highlight the Wellness Company real quick. A groundbreaking new study shows that there is a safe and inexpensive potential cancer treatment, and it's a drug that many of us already know about, ivermectin. This new study shows that individuals who took ivermectin, the parasite-fighting medication that gained fame during the COVID pandemic, along with the drug mebendazole, saw remarkable results in their battles with cancer. This incredibly promising results have many Americans wondering where they can obtain U.S.-made ivermectin and mebendazole. That's where the Wellness Company comes in. You see and hear from TWC doctors all the time on this network, and you know that their products are the gold standard for keeping you and your family safe and healthy. The Wellness Company is making 100% American-made ivermectin and mebendazole available to my audience at an incredible, affordable price point. Say no to Big Pharma's greed and say no to Big Pharma's poisons and say yes to a company that you can trust to bring you safe, affordable, and effective treatments. If you or someone else you love is interested in trying ivermectin plus mebendazole, then I urge you to go to twc.health/CDM today and order. That's twc.health/CDM. Use promo code CDM and you get 10% off. All right, let's bring in Mr. Euro Bytes. Christian, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Todd.
The cockroach is gone. Are you surprised?
Yes, I am. I started shortening him just to the roach. If you remember in Apocalypse Now, there is like one soldier that gets woken up and they're like, "Where's the roach? Where's the roach?" And he's the guy with a grenade pistol. But yes, he is still prime minister, to be sure. Mm-hmm. Today we used to refer to him as the Starmer because he was notoriously wooden and he spoke on this weird cadence, robotic. And but the Starmer showed some emotions today. He kind of thanked his wife. And nobody's quite sure what kind of arrangement they have because obviously rumors are that
he may be a switch hitter.
Yeah. So rumors are that's not his actual proclivity. Be that as it may, we're not here to speculate on that. There's enough yellow press to to do that. Yes, so the Starmer showed emotion as he announced that he might. Labour was obviously still the party the country needed, and he touted his improvement, his achievements. But at this point, it was the question whether he was getting in the way of the good things that Labour was doing. So what has happened? I mean, again, we've been the viewers and listeners of Euro Bytes know that I borrowed from the great comedian Nick Dixon, who said after the nuclear apocalypse, which our elites seem to be so keen to bring about, it's just a bunch of cockroaches and Keir Starmer. And if we look back, what actually held that man, what that man survived? I mean, obviously, he alienated large parts of the country after the horrendous attacks on a couple of young girls dancing to Taylor Swift tunes, of which then the perpetrator, Mr. Rudekabane, who was first touted as a Welshman, but turns out he was a kid of Rundee's parents, slaughtered 3 girls, maimed plenty of others, and Keir Starmer came down like a ton of bricks on the working class community, demonstrating, in part writing against that horrendous act, and brought down the full force of the law. And it turns out even some people were arrested who were just bystanders. One of them ended up killing himself in custody. So that didn't endear himself to large parts of the working class communities. He didn't endear himself to the farmers after he tried to ram through a horrendous inheritance tax that, yes, on papers, farmers are rich because if they sold the land that they're on, then very often they could make quite a bit of money, which doesn't really help you if you try to farm that land and then need to pay money to inherit that to your children. So he lost one of many U-turns. He had a close ally, Angela Rayner, in his government, who had to step down after tax irregularities with her flat. He then survived 2 Mandelsons. We remember the British ambassador to the United States. First, it turns out, oh, he had close ties to Epstein. How could I have known? Horrendous, yes. And people said, well, you apparently didn't do your vetting good enough. He's like, no, I trusted the research work of the State Department. Then it turned out it leaked that actually he knew and was warned heavily against reappointing Mandelson. In brackets, Mandelson was so close to Epstein that when Britain sold its gold reserves at the absolute bottom of the gold market, Peter Mandelson picked up the phone and let Epstein know. Who knows how many billions of pounds the British taxpayer lost by Britain selling his gold reserve, but he survived that. But he didn't survive. So all his allies and foes within his party could forgive him associating and ramming through a known associate of a prolific pedophile and most definite intelligent asset. They would forgive him that, but they didn't forgive him losing elections. And there was the recent by-elections at the council level where he lost big time against Nigel Farage's Reform, to a lesser degree against the very new party of Rupert Lowe, Restore, and then a party rival ran in what looked like a very secure seat for Labour in Makersfield. And I had doubts whether that would work, but again, sometimes the loyalty of certain places where they will forever vote Democrat or Republican in the United States, the same still exists in the United Kingdom. Makersfield, since that constituency, that voting district existed, I think 1906 roughly, they have only voted Labour, and they did exactly that this time. So with, I think, 54%, then Nigel Farage's Reform came in with 34%, Rupert Lowe's Restore with respectable 7%, all other parties, including the Conservatives, or the party known as the Conservatives, were irrelevant. The Conservatives only had 2.2%, so roughly a third of Rupert Lowe's new party. So much for that. So no, it wasn't the big right-wing upset that we'd voted for that a new, more popular candidate tried to inherit Keir Starmer and lost. That didn't happen. Probably viewers are asking, okay, what does that mean for the future of the United Kingdom and the future of Labour? Very quickly, Labour is split into 3 different fractions. Well, it used to be split into 3 different fractions. Now it's just 2, but it used to be split into the Blairite centrists. Well, they're still very left, certainly by American standards, but they would be the managerialists. So if anybody read the excellent book by James Burnham about managerialism, the managerialists are the people who love digital IDs, who love vaccine passports, who love all these technocrat projects instituted by Tony Blair. So Keir Starmer belonged to that part of Labour. Then there's the so-called soft left, to which Andy Burnham, who's just been elected to, which is plenty left when it comes to to economics in terms of redistributionism. And there used to be the hard left, or Jeremy Corbyn, who was actually successfully politically killed off by Keir Starmer when Labour fought its way into power, where even Jeremy Corbyn, who was the hard left, who wanted to nationalize a couple of industries, he was ousted from the party, also by purported or actually existing anti-Semitism in his party, because obviously he had a strong Muslim vote to cater to, and hence there was a lot of anti-Semitism that was kind of overtly discussed within Labour, but Keir Starmer got rid of him. So in the end, it was just the Keir Starmer centrist technocrat left, and now Andy Burnham's soft left. How soft they are, we need to see. Probably they're not going to nationalize anything, but it will mean probably still higher taxes, still more redistributionist rhetoric. And we have to see what happens to the migration question, because obviously Keir Starmer in the end had a tough-talking woman of Pakistani origin, Shabana Mahmood, who at least talked tough on migration. And to be fair, migration never got as bad under as bad in terms of absolute numbers under Keir Starmer as it got under the Tories, which says very little. Also, it says, well, we just look at the numbers. So it is all premised on the fact that people come into the country, actually leave, we have a temporary visa, but we don't quite know how many of them actually leave. But all things considered, at least when it comes to the raw numbers, Keir Starmer managed to dial that back a bit. They had obviously Tony Blair in the background constantly being the Fabian Machiavellian figure, saying, look, don't do it quite so quickly, don't quite do it quite so overtly, because people are going to start noticing, and it's going to endanger the overall project of digital IDs, central digital bank currency.
Well, that's the question, right? I mean, is the new guy going to continue the surveillance state?
That is going to be super interesting. He is not as much part of the club as, say, Keir Starmer was in terms of the Blair fold. However, given that he's not much part of the club, it also means all the stuff that Keir Starmer has survived also meant there was a lot of backing in the background. Whereas we remember the very short-lived 40-day Prime Minister Liz Truss, who had been subject of a coup by the Bank of England and whoever is behind the Bank of England in all but name. Andy Burnham won't have the same benefits, so it remains to be seen how he governs and how he will be brought back in the fold or not. So for me, he's the dark horse. The interesting bit is, assuming he will ride out the remaining tenure of Labour, which is another 2 years at least. And whether he manages to ride that out or not remains to be seen. But if then there are election campaigns against reform and restore, they will surely bring up the disastrous record he had as the mayor of Manchester in terms of the grooming gang scandal. And
how can that just be ignored? I mean, Starmer had ignored 13,000 rapes, and people, I mean, I guess the left just doesn't care, right?
No, they really don't. I mean, to them, it is, those are just, like singular and very tragic. Always the word tragic and disgusting is mentioned, rightfully so, but true tragedy is something, oops, that just happened. But actually, I mean, Todd, the numbers are actually far worse than that. I mean, as it turns out, Rupert Lowe funded and
Yes.
organized the actual comprehensive grooming gang study that Keir Starmer never wanted to do, because he said, well, we have done the study of what happened in Rotherham. But Rotherham was just one study. And I mean, already what Rotherham brought to the light of day was disturbing enough, where
Yes.
the police covered it up, being afraid, being racist, social workers covered it up, being afraid, being called racist. Now it turns out this comprehensive study said, well, that went on throughout the country, and we're probably looking at 250,000 victims.
Yes.
Rather than in the tens of thousands, it's in the hundreds of thousands. And journalists have not really started digging into Andy Burnham's role as the mayor of Manchester and the greater Manchester area. So let's see what comes out. I mean, that will make him rightfully the target of the likes of Reform and Restore. And we have to see what is going to happen. What is going to happen there? Yeah.
So, what about energy in the UK and manufacturing? How is this guy going to look at that? Because that's been destroyed also.
So that is an interesting one. Obviously, the taxes are rising. There's a lot more of the rhetoric, also from UK politicians. When it comes to, for instance, Elon Musk, they're like, oh, how can there be a trillionaire, even though the trillionaire is in the United States? But in terms of the energy and manufacturing, obviously, more and more regulation doesn't particularly help. Higher and higher taxes doesn't particularly help. The energy, so the UK doesn't particularly help themselves. So for the first time, I think since 1960 something, in 2024, there has not been any oil drilling in the North Sea, on the British side of the North Sea. On the Norwegian side, there's plenty of drilling going on, but the first time ever, there's no drilling on the British side of the North Sea. All the American and Canadian companies that are operating are holding their investments. However, there is one glimpse of hope. Unlike Germany, even the hard left and the hard pro-green energy part of Labour, and there's a guy who is by the name of Ed Miliband, who is sort of their green energy guy. At least he is pro-nuclear power, whereas in Germany that's still a taboo. But in the UK, they are very much looking into small modular reactors and general nuclear power. So that might just help them. But the overall climate in terms of high taxation, high regulation, it further undermines the overall basis of manufacturing. And some, I mean, we are much more than the United States, but you guys are going to get there as well at a point where we're saying something has to give. We cannot fund a war in Ukraine. We cannot invite the whole world that seems to be migrating directly into the social systems. We cannot indefinitely hike the taxes. So something has to give. You know, obviously the pound has lost 40% of its purchasing power since 2020. So that's considerable. So it remains to be seen what they're going to do. They can't really hike much of the interest rate, because obviously that would make the house of cards fall a lot quicker. So they wouldn't need to let inflation happen, but obviously that is only politically tenable for so long. So something has to give, whether it's not funding the war in Ukraine, or maybe even escalating the war in Ukraine.
Well, maybe that's their answer. I mean, obviously that's what Britain is doing. I mean, all these Storm Shadow missiles in Ukraine, insane. What about elections? I think did Nigel come out and say, let's have an election? Is that possible, or is that not going to happen?
I mean, certainly Nigel and Rupert Lowe are making quiet music to that degree, saying, well, look, you got elected on the mandate of almost, read my lips, no new taxes. You got elected on a centrist platform. You got elected on curbing migration. And now, Andy Burnham, you are an entirely different beast than Keir Starmer. But I think they're going to ride it out. I mean, there is the Foreign Minister, Mr. David Lammy, who's of Caribbean origin, who's a big supporter of the whole reparations bit. And he kind of, the good thing about him, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. So he's refreshingly honest in a lot of ways. And when people say, well, when is Keir Starmer going to step down? When are you going to guys have new elections? It's like, look, we worked so hard to get here. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't see them stepping down. I mean, political pressure, any sort of appeal to morale or anything will not happen unless they do something to really, really upset the actual powers that be. And obviously it's to the likes of CD Media to think who those are. But the financial powers obviously already had one coup against Liz Truss. So that kind of depends how hard they rock the boat into a genuine soft or not so soft left direction. That's really hard to see. My prediction is they're gonna stay unless some external shock further rattles this house of cards. Remember, an untenably high debt, untenably high tensions right now. I mean, we had within a couple of weeks horrendous knife attacks in Belfast. We had yesterday an attack by a British guy on Muslims in Edinburgh. I mean, it all seems to be happening such quick succession. So let's see where this is heading. But for now, they're not going anywhere, and they still have big plans. And I mean, the last thing that Keir Starmer was adamant, one of his many U-turns, so he turned back from a lot of unpopular things like cutting the fuel allowance for seniors, like U-turn from the inheritance tax for farmers, but then he made a U-turn of the U-turn when it came to the digital ID. He turned back from that, and then suddenly he wants that again. So let's see.
One more question. You're German. Kirill Dmitriev, who's Putin's advisor, came out and said, "Okay, we got rid of Starmer. Merge is next." What do you think? Is he vulnerable in Germany?
Merz, yes, absolutely. I mean, he has shown that he barely can get a coalition together, that he barely shows any leadership, that he is not relevant anywhere. The economy, obviously, so on the one hand, Germany is in better shape than the UK because we had never been deindustrialized at the same degree than the UK. We have never been as concentrated. I mean, the UK economy is the greater London area, and then some in Manchester, and then some in maybe in and around Edinburgh, and that's pretty much it. Whereas Germany is much more decentralized and still has a lot of family-owned companies. But Germany's Achilles heel is the energy, and even the UK's hardliners are more reasonable than the UK hardliners, who actually say, look, yeah, nuclear energy, if we're not going to drill our own oil, at least nuclear energy needs to do that. So, and that makes the German economy right now very, very vulnerable. And that might actually bring down Merz, given that he hasn't shown any leadership capabilities whatsoever. So he might be the next one to fall. And then again, mind you, in Germany, unlike in the UK, it is a coalition. So that definitely would mean new elections, and meaning the AfD will feature very strongly in that, unless obviously the powers that be come up with a Romanian solution to that, which I don't think at this point they would dare, but I've been wrong with my predictions in the past.
Yeah, no kidding. I just keep going back to that train ride with the video of, was it Macron and Merz and was it Starmer when they're like hiding the crack pipe? You know, I mean, to me, that is like what we're dealing with here. Just actors like Zelensky who are getting high and doing what they're told.
Yeah, you know. No, absolutely. So, I mean, interesting days. I mean, on the one hand, a great time to be in podcasting, but on the flip side, not a great day to be anybody who's who's still grown up in a resemblance of sanity in an economy or a country. I mean, well, you know the same. I mean, it's
yeah. So when are we gonna have another Euro Bytes episode with the whole gang? What happened to Fabian? Is he still up in the mountains with his his short pants? I mean, what?
he might be. I'll try to drum them back together. I mean, it is certainly interesting days. I mean, one of the things, Todd, watch this space. Obviously, with the football World Cup, the football is always a dangerous thing in Europe, because remember, there were demonstrations and riots after the Southport massacres on the little girls, and it kind of stopped when suddenly the English Premier League or soccer league came back on, and now with all eyes of the world being on the World Cup, this is where CD Media and all of us podcasters need to take a good look. What are they actually doing during the parliamentary summer breaks? What are they? What is coming through and what is under discussed? And so far, it seems like even in Northern Ireland, the energy out of the protests is petering out for now. So remains to be seen. I mean, for the politicians of Europe, a much needed respite. The football World Cup, believe it or not, it's just sadly the way it works. Bread and games, just like in Roman times. Yeah.
All right, my friend, we'll have you back. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you so much.
You have a day job, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Take care. Bye. All right, that's Christian Gabe from the Euro Bytes team, and we'll have another Euro Bytes episode soon. That's it for today. Please sign up for our social media. It really helps us. If you haven't signed, follow us on X, CDM_press. Please do that, or on YouTube, CDM on YouTube. And that's it. We'll see you tomorrow on the SCIF. We got a big show tomorrow, as usual. A lot coming. We're working hard to get you all the information. So stay with us, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.